What's up, everybody? You got the Car Man today, and we're going to be talking about how to buy cars cheap. Um, so that's a pretty. I get asked this question a lot. Actually, a lot of people want to know how to buy the cars cheaper because obviously I have bought a long string of cars that are like really really cheap, and people are always like, "Jesus, how did you get that car so cheap?" Well, to be honest, experience plays a factor, but there is some other factors that are equally as important. Um, some of those factors are how you treat people, what you're actually looking for when you're out looking for cars, and the certain little factors along that line. Um, so let's talk about this for a second. So a lot of people over prioritize the person they're selling the car to, and that person is very important ultimately. I mean, they're the ones giving you the money to buy the car, and hopefully you can move on to the next one. And and that's all good, but there's one rule of thumb that never changes, and that is that the cars are worth what they're worth, period. So the end sale is kind of a no brainer. Someone's going to buy the car, period. If you sit on it long enough, there's going to be a butt for every seat, and that's just how that goes. And all cars you can look at market reports or whatever, and they'll tell you what they wholesale for, and you can go to Kelly Blue Book, and they'll tell you kind of what they retail for, kind of the middle range. So you kind of know what you're going to end up getting the car for just based on the market. So what it really comes down to, you don't make the money when you sell a car, you actually make the money when you buy a car. So the first thing you need to change in your mind is the mentality. Your shift needs to be, all your priorities need to be on how you're actually buying that car, because that's where your money's made at. You don't make money at the end of the game. You make money at the beginning of the game. So let's talk about the game. What is the game? So when you actually start dealing with people, everything becomes negotiable. And if you start out conversations like, "Hey, what's your best price? Um, what's your lowest price? How cheap can I get it?" All these things turn off sellers. They turn them off immediately. No one cares about you wanting to make money on them. So you're going to block yourself right off the bat from even being able to access the consumer that's selling the car. And most dealers, if you start out with them, "Hey, what's up, Mr. Cortez?" What most dealers don't care either. If you walk up in one of my lots and you were like, "Hey, what's the best deal you can do on this '06 Silverado out here?" Well, the first thing in my mind is, Jesus, who even wants to deal with this guy? Like I'm looking for other triggers like, "Hey, this is the truck I've been looking for, kind of check it out, blah, blah." Like that's what people generally want to hear when you're out looking for a car. So if you beat them up right off the bat and you come on as a hard ass, you can almost guarantee yourself you're not getting a great deal. And if you end up getting any kind of deal, you could have got a better deal with sugar instead of vinegar. So when I start talking to someone, I immediately profile what the situation is. So I look at them and I'm like, okay, just like when you're selling a car, but when you're buying a car, you want to profile a few things. Like you need to figure out, A, why do they want to sell this car? What's their motivation? Is it a divorce? They don't need it. It's extra. They've already replaced it. If you can come up with a good enough reason, if they have a great reason to get rid of it, where they don't put a lot of value on it, that really goes into your favor. I.e., a lot of ladies, we buy a lot of cars from women that buy new cars. They go buy a new car, and the car means literally nothing to them. And they just sitting in their driveway, pissing them off. It's in the way. So, and it's dirty, and they don't feel like doing the little stuff to it, and all the little things that come along with selling a car. They don't want to deal with any of it. So if you are nice to them, and instead of saying, "Hey, what's the best deal you'll do on it?" If you say, "Hey, let me come take a look at it," and you go take a look at it and say, "You know what? You got a pretty nice car here, but there's a few things that I think are gonna, need," and be very pleasant about it, and show a little class when you're talking to them, and give them some respect and appreciation. And what you're gonna find out is they start dropping those walls a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? That guy's all right. He ain't trying to kill me. He just wants to get a good deal on the car." And when you start up the offering, when you make them an offer, you might start out and say, "Hey, I don't know what you're thinking, but this is kind of what I was thinking. Or you could say, hey, were you thinking that, did you have a number in mind that you might sell this for right off the bat? Because usually if they will say, yeah, you know what, if, I'm just saying they wanted 2 grand for it. Well, me and my mom talked and we're not taking nothing less than 1500, but they wanted 2 grand. So right off the bat, you would say, hey, you know what? That's probably really not a bad number if it didn't have a few of these little things. I still like it and everything, but here's what I was thinking, and just present that low number to them. And whatever it is, let's just say it's $1,000. I was thinking. Here's what I was thinking. I was thinking $1,000. What are you thinking? And then they'll either get really offended or they'll get quiet or whatever. And then always be ready for that counter offer. It'll take 3 rounds around the block to make this happen. 3, count it. So they'll give you a number. You're going to hit them with a number. Then the next one's the close, or you're going to blow it. Usually that's how it works. So just be careful with how you present things. Like that would be my first biggest thing that I could tell you at all. The first thing you do, it's a customer. You have to get in front of the customer to close them. If you can't get in front of the customer to close them, it's just whoever you're buying the car from. The shit doesn't matter anyway. You're just jerking off. It doesn't even matter. So that you need to be able to be nice enough to get up into somewhere in the somehow you need to get that contact where you're there in front of them and being able to make the deal happen. That'd be my first thing. And like I said, with negotiations, it's all about showing them respect and just kind of working with them. Now, you have to be very clever on finding out what's wrong with the car because they have the luxury of owning it, so they know everything that's wrong with it. And you have the misfortune of only being there for just about this long before you get a chance to buy it. So you've got to go through it. Check out a whole series on this if you want to watch it on things you check out on a car. But it really comes down to treating that person right and ease it into the conversation. That's just we call it in the car business. They call it reverse selling, which is you're selling them on why they need to sell you. So sell the seller. I know it's insanity, but that's the real way that you make money. And that same principle applies with the car dealers. You can be the same with the car dealers. They'll hit you at full boat on a car. That I'm just saying, if you're a private individual watching this, um, they'll hit you with a full $3,000-4,000 profit. And if you talk to them correctly, you can get them to drop all the money in seconds. I mean, you really can. I mean, they're not just that. Just people like nice people. That's all I can tell you. Like the old days of, I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to be a hard ass. That's cool, and I'm glad it strokes your ego, but it's not going to save you money, and it's not going to help you make a profit, and it's not going to sustain your business. People like nice people they can do business with. It's just how it works. It doesn't probably seem fair. I mean, you would think that, hey, you know what? Let me just text this person and lowball the crap out of them, and we would all love to do that. I mean, I would love to sit on my phone all day long and just make people offers for 10% of what they want for it, and maybe 1 out of 100 will hook, and then they'll never answer you back when you call them. So just get away from that. Uh, Also, you got to be willing to chase down the hard deals. And what I mean by that is hard deals are people that have issues going on outside of selling cars. So you're trying to buy cars, but that's what you do. And this is what I do. We all are out trying to buy cars. But that person that's busy from work that can't get to you for 3 days, that's okay. That's okay because 3 days from now, you're still going to be looking to buy cars. So it's whatever you can do to build that relationship before you get there. They're gonna immediately connect with you, and then they're gonna start looking out after your interests as everyone else. All the other guys are trying to come in and buy the car. But no, no, no. I've been talking with old Jamie over there, and he's coming Saturday too. We've been talking for the last 4 or 5 days. We've never even seen each other, but the guy feels committed that I'm going to buy his car. You know what I mean? So you've got that relationship established. Plus, walking into a relationship like that, one of the ones you have to chase with that pre-established relationship, you already got the trust built up. So they're going to be like, hey, this guy's, he's been talking to me for 4 or 5 days. He showed up like he said he would. He's not a jerk. He's being very respectful. He's checked out my car. He's brought some valid points. Maybe I do need to be a little flexible on what I'm asking for this car. Because that's how you get people to negotiate downwards. You want to reverse sell them. And When you get there, you just remember that they're trying to sell you a car, but you're trying to sell them on why they should sell you that car. Other than the reason that you have money in your pocket, but if you don't want to pay what they want for it, then it's going to come down to you selling them that you're worth selling them the car for. I know it seems confusing and it probably is a little bit overwhelming, but if you're a car person, this will make sense to you. That's one of my big tips on how to buy cars cheap. The other thing is I look for honest people. I look for people that give too much information. If someone too much information is better. And what people do when they go to search for cars, they tend to look for reasons on not to buy them. So let's pretend we were looking at just Craigslist because everybody knows what Craigslist is. So here you go. Here's Johnny. He's driving down the list and he's looking, or Becky, whoever you want to do, just pick a female, male, whoever, and they're just scrolling through the list. They're like, oh, 2000 Acura. It's got a door issue. Never mind. The customer went out of his way to tell you that the door doesn't shut right or the window don't go up and down. So that consumer is going, oh, that's a problem. I don't want it. That's a problem. I don't want it. So that's the customer that's posted that honest, that's been that honest. That's the customer you're looking for. That's who you want to buy a car from. Because when you get there, the guy's going to be like, oh, yeah, I did forget the windshield wipers need to be replaced. I do the brakes every 6 months. Here's the receipts. Perfect. Even if you got to pay another $100 for it, half the battle is won. You know the history of the car. This guy's honest about it. He's been driving it. He knows what's up. That's a lot better than getting into a situation where somebody's just bought a car, some idiot that's just trying to flip it that could care less. He doesn't know he's put something in it to try to make it last for a week. You know what I mean? This guy is the real deal. He's trying to sell you something, but he's trying to be fair. He's trying to look out for you, even though you don't even know him. But that person is the rare consumer. That's who you want to buy your cars from. You don't want to buy your cars from a guy when they answer the phone and they go, you're like, hey, I was calling about your car for sale. Never tell them specific, by the way. And they'll say, oh, which one? Well, as soon as they say which one, guess what? They don't know crap about that car or the one they don't know about nothing. They're just there trying to make money. Immediate shut off. That turn them off, done. If if I call somebody and they're like, hey, they just don't even they won't respond or they're giving half-ass answers. If I say, "Hey, look, I'm calling about your vehicle you got posted for sale," and their response is something like, "Yeah, I'm like not home right now. Yeah, I've had a lot of people call. I'll hit you back." And like they never hit you back. See, if someone's interested about selling a car and they're a legit person that's on the straight up and up, they're going to hit you up and they're going to be very legit with you. They'll say, "Hey, yeah, I've got the 2000 Toyota for sale. Yeah, it's sitting here in the driveway. I have 5 or 6 people looking at it." If you get that guy talking to you, you know you got somebody that you can do business with. So go ahead and jump right then. When you call on a car, be prepared to go buy it. You got to talk with confidence and you've got to tell them, hey, listen, I have cash in hand. I'm in need of a purchase of a vehicle immediately. It doesn't mean you're going to buy their vehicle, but it means that you're an important. So all the other jerk offs that are calling them, that are telling them, oh, I'm waiting on my money. Got to have my mom, my aunt, my cousin, my uncle, whoever, whatever. Because people like when people post cars, they get beat up all day long. That's why people get sick of it. So if you actually sound legitimate, if the price seems semi okay, don't even talk negotiations. Just say, hey, listen, I'm looking for a car. This is perfect. I'd like to come check it out. Can I come check it out now? They're going to put you at the front of the list. Now you've got an opportunity. Now, if you get there and it's a total hunk, it's a total hunk. That's just a part of the game. But we'll give you the opportunity to buy it, and then you start selling the guy on how great of a guy you are. And they've already heard all the jerk offs that've been calling for the last hour. So, you're ahead of the game if you're there. So that's just a few little tips. If I'm buying at auto auction, the only way I buy at auto auction, I hate the auction. Uh, I've said this many times, so I won't beat it to death. It just pisses me off for them to make $300 or $400 doing nothing. And then, like, sometimes I used to sell 15, 25 cars or whatever. We'd run them all through the lane, and those guys would make $300 a pop on 20 cars. You do the math. Well, so I'm losing money and they're making 6 grand. And then they're making another 6 grand on the 20 that I sold from the people they sold it to. So they make 12 grand. I lose 4 grand. It just ain't worth it. But forget that for a second. If I was at the auction and I wanted to buy a car, I would stay on a seller. Like I would know who my sellers were. I would stay with franchises. That's what I would buy from. Buy from franchises or finance companies. Finance companies generally don't have a stake in the game. If it's late model and running, you're just doing a basic drive over, that it seems okay. Especially if it's under green light, that'd be better. But that's the people that I'm buying from. I'm trying to buy trade-ins that aren't washed and cleaned from the dealers. I'm trying to buy repossessions from the finance companies. And if you're a late model buyer, I'd be buying off lease if you could, because they've been under maintenance and they're good. The cars I would stay away from is former daily rentals, the independent dealers. Not saying there can't be some good deals. I'm just saying on your main diet of food here, your main diet of flow, I would survive off of the franchises and and definitely the finance company repossessions. Also, there's another kicker to that: public auctions. Public auctions is a really random thing. It's kind of like it really is like the stock market. You can literally go in, and I'll give you an example. One day we had, I guess it. Oh, I remember it was the. I guess it was the Navy base was just had them just they sent everything over and they were just selling everything. So I ended up buying these box trucks. I know it's the weirdest thing. So I ended up buying these box trucks. I just couldn't help it. They were like these little GM box trucks that were like 14, 16-foot boxes on them. They had the little the little gates in the back that slid down. And these things were all 350 V8s with like 30,000 miles on them. Nice cars, but they had a little bit of age on them. So I'm just like, I can't help it. Nobody bids on them. They're a public auction. And so I ended up buying all these for like, I don't know, maybe a grand, 1,200 a piece. And I bought like 8 of them. And I just kept sticking my hand up because I was like, somebody's going to want these. And you know what? I came in and I just killed it. Every one of them did $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 when I sent them back through the Manheim's auction, which was amazing. On other times, I bought cars that were on public sale, like I bought like our county here. Sometimes they have sales, and I buy them from there. I really do like I like their little the ones they use for like the county, the little county drivers, the little 4-door cars, the little gas savers. Man, they ain't got no miles on them. They're just stripped out, but dang, man, they maintenance those things. The paint's never good on them. But I mean, as far as being able to just get in and go, those suckers are ready to go. The ACs are usually good. Usually got new tires on. The paint's shot to hell. The interior looks usually nice. And those cars are great for guys that are like financing cars or tote to note or supplying the low end. So, in that aspect, as far as a good deal in the county, the only thing I can say for that is just show up. Just show up. They'll usually try to be as honest as they can with you, and give you as much information. If you can hear it running, at least have somebody that's mechanically inclined, at least somewhere close by, to say, hey, does it have a rod knocking or anything? But yeah, so now as far as public auction for people, like regular people going into a public auction that independent dealers put on and stuff like that, I know it's a business. I'm not knocking the guys out here that use it for a business, but if I was looking to buy cars for a good deal, I would not go there. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're going to a place that does auction on low end cars, those things are so hard to find when they're good that they wouldn't be at the auction. I'm not saying you can't occasionally get something good there. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just saying as a whole, like I wouldn't use that as a staple to supply. I wouldn't, you might somewhere find a honey hole, you can spend a little time. And if you do, feel free to share it on the channel and, people all over the world will see it. But, so public auctions, I've been around them a lot. And I remember back in the 80s, there was one that we went to that they were just popping. I mean, they'd have about 3 lines going, and out of the 3 lines, they'd probably sell 200 or 300. They'd have 200 or 300 cars per line, and these cars would sell all night for 400 to a couple grand. During tax season, these dealers are sending all their junk over there because they know they can get just ridiculous money. and it usually never works out really good for the ultimate buyer at the end of the day. That's the problem with public auctions. Um, but I guess that's just part of it. Now, police auctions are a little different. The problem with police auctions that I've had so far, and I've only been to a few of them because I got really turned off by them. But the stuff has just been sitting for so freaking long. Like it is just ridiculously long. And you just don't never know what kind of just pure crap you get into. So I mean, sometimes it's worth going because you might catch something that's for nothing. But generally speaking, if they're really well publicized and they're really offered on a wide platform, so they get a lot of people there. There's a lot of competition for them, and you just get a bunch of junk that's not running, or you don't know if it runs, and it really is just that's probably my least favorite auction. So we covered what else I was thinking about. I just want to cover with you guys real quick. So I did the government auctions. Government auctions, I said is fine. Public auctions, went over those. Dealer auctions. Once again, I gave you the two outlets that I would probably try to concentrate on. As far as individuals go, I was kind of going over the whole respect thing. Just try to get yourself landed in there for a deal, and then count on your experience to negotiate it down. Remember, when you buy the cars when you make the money. Another place that's this is kind of a forgotten scourge in our society, but it's a great place for cars. Tow companies. Tow companies are excellent for cars. Let me tell you why. They have no value concept to the cars. I buy them from there. I have people call me all the time from tow companies. And interestingly enough, things you would think they would really overvalue, they just don't. So, and some things they really overvalue that, like, I'll give you an example. A couple months ago, I called on I want to say 99 or 2000 Firebird. I'm sorry, it was something else. And I went up there and I was going through and I was like, hey, how much is that Firebird? And the guy's like, hey, I'll take 600. So in the back of my mind, it's got 110,000 miles, T tops, and it's retail red. So I'm thinking, does it run? The guy's like, yeah, it runs. I think the AC's cold. I can't even remember what it needed now. Maybe I think he said it needed brakes or something, whatever. But the body looked nice, $600. So right beside it's a 2003 Focus. I'm like, how much do you want for the Focus? The guy's like, oh, well, I'll look at the book on that. I want 2,500. Okay. So when we go through the list and he goes through and he's got like I don't know, maybe 10 cars. So I go through and listen to the guy and I'm like, hey, I got an idea. Just so we can start doing business and we're on the same page, I'm gonna go ahead and buy that whatever Firebird from you. So I of course showed up with cash in hand, dropped the cash on the guy. He knocked off another $100, or of course I beat him out of another 100. Maybe he wanted 7, I got it for 6, something like that. But anyway, the point is, it's really hit or miss on tow trucks. So they're a great opportunity. They're not like those guys are kind of like us in the aspect that they need the cash flow. So if you're standing in front of them and you're a guy that buys cars on the regular, and they know they don't got to listen to all the bullshit. I hate to use the term, but if they know they don't got to listen to it, then they're going to listen to you. Like you're like, hey, look, man, like these guys know when I show up, I got stacks, son. I'm ready to do business. I don't need checks. I don't need nothing. I'm coming with dead president. They know it. They know when the car man's there that if I say, hey, look, I'm gonna buy that, conversation's over. And they know if I'm gonna buy this one, the conversation's over. They're moving on to the next one. And that's the kind of buyer you want to be with the tow truck guys. If you want to get in. Those guys aren't usually real bright as far as I don't mean they're dumb. I just mean as far as they're not going to care too much about the mechanical side of it. Like, now, as far as that goes, also take you to a different level. Your local finance companies, like, I'm just throwing a couple out there. You can just kind of look around. You can just Google local finance company in your phone or whatever. You will find some, and they just start calling them, ask them, "Hey, look, what's your process for getting rid of your repossessions?" If you've got a title loan place, which I hate those places, but you can sometimes get some really good deals from there if you go to the independent ones because they just want it off the books. They don't care. They don't care what's wrong. They're like, here, this is $50. You want it or you don't want it, that kind of thing. But all right, so okay, I probably talked enough today. I don't know if I've helped you out any or gave you any insight to what car buying's like, but that's what it's really like in the big scheme of things. Um, and if you do due diligence and you buy your cars cheap, it takes a little bit of effort and some fine tuning, but work more on the relationship with the person you're buying it from than just trying to get a good deal. If you work more on the relationship, you'll end up with a better deal than just trying to get a good deal. Trust me on that. I've learned that the hard way. They say the shortcut is the long way. That's the long way, but it's also the most profitable way. So that's just real talk. This is what our show's about, right? Just real car talk. So that's what it's about. Meanwhile, anything else? Y'all got any questions that you want to know about car buying right now? Are we all car buyers out there? Everybody's watching. We got like 11 people on. It's funny because I don't promote these videos, so I come on every day at 5 o'clock. So you either know that or you don't know that. So only a handful of people know that. And the reason I do that is I keep this audience low. That way it can be manageable. Because if people start blowing up the feed, it just gets too many rabbit trails. It's hard to do. But this video will go into rotation, and people will be like, "Damn, I wish I was there for that." So if you've got any questions or anything, how car buying's affected you, or anything that I've said, or you got a different way of doing it, just let me know. I'd be interested. But like I said, I've probably done, man, I've done it all. Like as far as car buying, dude. Manheim's, Pennsylvania. I'm sure half of you been there. I've worked that sale. I've worked Orlando, Atlanta, Dallas. I mean, I've been from the franchise side of things when you've got 80, 90 used cars and you got to dump them at the auction and the dealers are pissed off because they want their cash. And then you got the whole floating the title thing back and forth and all this horse shit. I mean, like, I've done it, guys. I'm not talking about this from a perspective of how it might be. Like, I've lived it. This is my life. This is what I've done. So I'm really telling you, like, coming from that perspective all the way down to dealing with an individual, the most profitable way to do this is go find cars individually from people, spend a little bit of time with them, work it out, get you a deal, and do them one at a time. One at a time. I mean, in the big scheme of things, if you were a CarMax or a big dealer, you could jump into auction, you can play the auction game, but that's a tough game to play, guys, especially unless you got a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to play that game. And the thing is what always pissed me off about that, we'd keep about 150 cars, 150, sometimes 200 used cars. And that's cool. You'd be like, oh man, that's a lot of cars to make money on. And that usually you'd sell about 100 used cars, which is great. That's not a problem to sell 100 used cars. We all love that. But the other problem is the other 100 lose so much money in 30 days that it just becomes, it's just never ending trap of just cars losing money and you're just trying to, it's like you would be like, that's why car dealers got to make $3,000 a pop or 2,000, because on the other end of it, it's going out the back door as fast as it's coming in the front door. So they're just trying to get enough in there to keep them on the flip side or on the upside, which comes from, you got to figure, man, out of 80, if a car dealer has 200 used cars, and most of the late models are coming from the auction, they've already paid the auction $300 or $400 profit per, and then they're paying curtailment interest and all this stuff on them. So that's why they're so expensive there. And none of that stuff applies to a private individual. They bought it and they drove it and they're just trying to dump it, get rid of it. So you can automatically buy it a little cheaper. All right, guys. Well, I've talked your ear off. I'm right at 30 minutes. It was only going to be a 10-minute video, but that is a pretty in-depth. That is an in-depth subject that takes a lot of detail, and I could probably go on about it for another 2 or 3 hours because it's just that big of a subject. But that's the basics. And if you're out looking for a car, follow my little 1-2s there. It'll help you. You'll save some money, and you'll become profitable really quick. Especially if you're less than 30 or 40 cars on your car lot, you need to be buying them from individuals. You don't need to be wasting your time at the auction. Just take it from a car guy. All right. I guess that's it. I guess tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we're going to bring up another subject. I've got some ideas right now. What are you guys thinking? Anybody thinking any ideas they want to talk about tomorrow, just in their real talk session, or I just get in front of the computer and just talk car knowledge? or at least theory. Can we say this is car theory at this point? I'm not going to call it knowledge. I'm going to say this is my theory for cars. All right, so we did. I might do something mechanical tomorrow. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll just have to look and see. I'll see what kind of comments come in tonight, and I'll let you know what it's going to be. All right, peace and love, man. Nothing but love out of here from the RV8 at Richmond. And getting well and healthy. All that crazy stuff I'm up to. Meanwhile, peace. See you, baby.